got the True Seeker here. Got Josh Rishu.
Littlefoot.
We also got Littlefoot in the building, broadcasting live. What is this? July 26th? Yeah, July 26th. Broadcasting live from the New Orleans metropolitan area, also known as Wagtown, Stanktown, what. Thank you guys for tuning in again. We're back, on YouTube. There's been a lot of changes going on with the studio here. We continue to make these changes. We're trying to make the experience as best as possible, especially since, we've moved to this new format with YouTube. As I stated with the podcast last week, trying to dress stuff up. We want to be professional. We want to be taken as professional. So why not just go ahead and fall in line with everybody else? I mean, on the Today Show, they be drinking, boys. The bottoms up. Drink them if you got them.
Good idea.
Yeah. Normally, whenever we was in the old days on MixLR, you wouldn't see this because, didn't have no video. But
we're the Hoda and Kathy Lee of podcasts.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
We got the wine cooler in the corner.
Oh, definitely. But, just talking about, wanting to go more professional and everything like that. Littlefoot helped me. She's our editor-in-chief here. But I went ahead, we wrote our first article really for the show. Just talking about a topic that's going to be really big this upcoming November is voting and the voting rights. So, that's what I wanted to go ahead and play this along with what I was going to be talking about. And we're going to go ahead and do that right now. Because on tonight's show, I would like to focus in on what is making America unfair again. And there is a reason why we have long lines for voting in certain parts of the country that seem to be battleground states. And that reason is because once we got the Trump administration, we saw massive repealing of laws all across the board. From offshore drilling to halting net neutrality. But the law responsible for our topic, though, is the repealing of portions of Voting Rights Act. And for those who don't know, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 signed into law by President Lyndon B. Johnson to overcome legal barriers at the state and local levels that prevented African Americans from exercising their right to vote. The 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution should have done this. But shockingly, the people in power did not uphold these existing laws, so new ones were passed. The Voting Rights Act is considered one of the most far-reaching pieces of civil rights legislation in the United States. Research shows nearly 40% reduction in polling sites in 750 counties that were covered by the Section 5 jurisdictions between 2012 and 2018. And this is over 750 counties across a couple of different states. This isn't an isolated issue. And when we close polling places, it makes it harder for people to vote. People that work, that use public transportation, need to pick up kids from school. And by limiting the number of polling locations, people are forced to use their time waiting in long lines. So they are forced to choose between voting or keeping their job or childcare arrangements. It would be one thing if we were only just limiting people's ability to vote easily. But we're also making it harder for people to vote once they arrive at the polling place. I know what it is like to early vote. I know what it's like to not have a physical ID anymore due to Louisiana now adopting this electronic ID, the LA Wallet app. This is available on any smartphone. And with the pandemic going on, I highly recommend this app. Because the state is prompting contactless transactions and giving the app away for free now. But anyway, in my experience with early voting in Jefferson Parish, I didn't wait in any line. I literally gave my birth date, signed my name on a piece of paper, and then I was allowed to vote. States like Alabama, residents can literally bring in a utility bill and exercise their right to vote. Okay? But in some areas, if you do not have a physical identification, you are denied the ability to vote. Like in Arkansas, If you do not have a government-issued ID from the state, college institution, or some other government-regulated agency, you are denied this right. And that might not seem like that big of a deal, but if you're not from the South, one of the things you don't know is how far and spread out the big cities in the South are. They do not have a lot of large, populated metropolitan areas down here. And that is the reason you have this red, Republican, ignorant stranglehold in certain areas of the South. And earlier I mentioned Section 5 jurisdictions. Section 5 was enacted to freeze changes in election practices or procedures covered in covered jurisdictions until the new procedures have been determined either after administrative review by the Attorney General or after a lawsuit before the United States District Court for the District of Columbia to have neither discriminatory purposes or effect. Section 5 was designed to ensure that voting changes in covered jurisdictions cannot be used until a favorable determination has been obtained. So now what we have is not a question of whether or not the Section 5 of the Voters' Rights Act worked. We know it worked. Because as soon as it was reversed, you see the exact places it was meant to stop voter restrictions, people's right to vote is being restricted now. And that leads to even more corruption. That leads to the eroding of rights for the people who just want to vote for candidates that bear in mind their best interest. The voters' laws are just the tip of the iceberg as far as these deregulations and rolling backs of laws. It's disgusting to hear anybody try to justify the vile corruption that is coming out of this administration we have in the White House right now. And to just mention some of the laws and regulations being destroyed, we have EPA laws, national park protections, tax laws, offshore drilling, LGBTQ rights, fair housing laws. And honestly, these are just a few that I could remember off the top of my head. If we only had to deal with one of these issues, it would be one thing. But there has been a nonstop assault on every single law and protection that benefits the American people and not corporate exploitation. But we're not going to talk about that we're going to talk about that a little bit later in the episode. We're going to get right back to the voters' rights now. Because luckily, it does seem we have some people fighting to try to push back and see these protections go back into place. The Democratic House of Representatives tried back in December of 2019 to pass legislation that would put these protections back into place. But like every other bill, what seems to be like for the last 12 years, no laws come out of this GOP-led Senate unless it is for the benefit of the ruling class and corporate billionaires at the expense of regular Americans. And now just recently on July 22nd, Democrats are trying again to protect the rights of voters with the November presidential elections looming. They now have named the bill after the late Representative John Lewis, who we all know, well, most of us know, that is not Elijah Cummings. Many Republicans that work with this man on somewhat daily basis, because remember, Congress literally only works about 140 days a year, posted condolences on social media with pictures of the also recently deceased Elijah Cummings. This alone should show us the lack of awareness and true empathy that these people have. This is supposed to be somebody that they are familiar with and that they are posting heartfelt words. Yet they're posting pictures of the wrong congressman and they don't even know it. I would like to think there could be some hope with this new bill. I would like to be hopeful that there might be some chance that there could be a realization of the reality that is facing regular Americans on an everyday basis. But if I were to be honest with you and myself, I do not think the chances for any bill to survive the Senate are very high at all at this point, especially with the rhetoric that we've seen from Mitch McConnell when he was specifically asked about, the coronavirus stimulus and trying to pass this before the House of Representatives left for vacation and all this stuff. He basically just laughed. He literally laughed and said no.
He laughed like a turtle laughs. Because I think he is part turtle.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he is part turtle.
His daddy was Yertle the turtle.
Turtle.
Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So what could really be so bad with all these polling places closing? I mean, it has to be for some good reason, right? Like every other county across this country, there's less and less money. The feds aren't helping anybody. And they've said this publicly, privately, that the states are on their own as far as fighting COVID-19. Yet we don't hear any government, we don't hear any fears of government overspending on military deployments, presidential golf excursions, trillion-dollar corporate stimulus packages, and industry bailouts. It's only when the money needs to be spent on testing every American for a disease, or buying nurses and hospital staff protective gear, or giving people a monthly stipend to stay at home and stay safe, feeding hungry children, or housing homeless people, or giving a small county enough resources to have updated voting machines and at least 2 polling places open on election days. Essentially, any human needs of a community needing to be met. Then there's suddenly a great debate about where's all this money going to come from. Why is it that Republicans only become fiscally conservative when they have to give away money to the people that not only could use it, but actually need it? These people don't have $500 in the bank. And this is statistically proven that a majority of Americans do not have $400 in their savings account in case of an emergency.
Less than half.
Less than
way
half.
less than half.
Less than half of Americans. This is, it's extreme. It is extreme. Or even have a steadily weekly income during this pandemic, and all of their rent, utilities, and monthly bills are still coming due. But literal billionaires are receiving tax credits for their businesses to operate during a pandemic. And non-essential government businesses, like the IRS, is suspended until it's safe to work and gather in buildings again. And we're talking about the IRS because we do not see tax returns going out to people. And the reason being is because it's not safe enough due to COVID-19. And the same thing's happening now that we were talking about this last week with the coins. Yep. They're not minting coins because it's not safe due to COVID-19 conditions.
But you get out and spend your coins. We need you to go to Walmart and bring your change. Go spend, go out in the economy, go spend your hard-earned cash, your literal coinage, because they need it back. Yeah. But it's not safe enough for them to be in a building printing money.
As you can see, with the footage that we have here, it's these long lines that are the result of all this. We saw this in Texas. We saw this a lot of this footage that you're seeing right now playing on the screen. This is from Georgia.
Imagine trying to vote on your lunch hour.
And this is what you walk into. And see, there's trying to social distance.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the reality now. Like, COVID-19 is real, whether you want to believe in it or not. And the reason why we know it's real is because every single billion dollar business that is operating on planet Earth is taking COVID-19 precautions. The only place that's not is America. This is the only.
But billion-dollar businesses here are taking it seriously, like the NBA, the NFL, like all these major league sports teams and shit.
But just when it comes to protecting their investments.
Oh yeah.
They don't give a shit about protecting you, which is evident with what Disney has done recently. Whereas, they're opening the theme parks. They want you to come back now. They're putting their minimum wage workers at risk to keep you entertained. Meanwhile, all of their corporate offices are closed. They're not making movies right now. Like, all the people who are not expendable are not being put at risk. That's your athletes, the creators of, Disney movies, and executives, and, people who dress like this normally and drink this type of beverage. They're not
Bud Light.
Yeah, they're not drinking Natty Light, buddy. They're not drinking Pabst, okay? But, that's where we are right now. And, what we're talking about right here leads us to one of the biggest issues that we're dealing with now that COVID-19 has been upon us, with little to no federal response. other than tear gassing moms and breaking the hands of Navy veterans for protesting, to preserve American rights, the crippling economic crisis that's going on and it's going to hit America. You have no politician with a backbone to mention it, and not even Bernie Sanders.
Yep. The eviction protections for people during the pandemic ran out on July 24th. That was Friday. You think Congress is doing anything about that?
Nope. There is going to be something worse than the Great Depression. You thought you thought 2008 was bad. Okay?
Or you think 2020 has sucked.
Oh yeah. If you think that was bad, you have seen nothing yet, okay? Because like we're talking about with the repealing of all of these voters laws and tax laws, this is just the tip of the iceberg of what we're going to see. And again, something that kind of gets lost and we don't really talk about a lot is these Republicans with these numbers. They're supposed to be these number gurus, okay? They know how the tax laws are supposed to go. They know how it's just they know how the economy is supposed to work, because if you give all the money to the people at the top, it's going to get down to the people at the bottom, which it never does. But that's something that they keep telling you.
They believe in the ghost of Reagan.
Yeah, the person that dropped the top 1% tax rate from 70% down to 30%. But we're talking about numbers and stuff, but they don't really know numbers. They say these things like they know what they're talking about, but when you start breaking down what they're talking about, you start realizing that they have absolutely no idea. This is truly evident with the constant argument that the COVID-19 is nothing more than the flu. The flu has less than 1% death rate. Okay? We're currently, I think... Annually, okay? A 1% death rate annually. Right now, annually, in America, we're seeing about a 3.5...
3.5.
3.5. I say it's closer to 4.5 because just...
That was my foot.
Sure it was. Blame it on that. But,
no one knows the numbers.
Nobody knows the numbers. I say it's probably closer to 4.5 because we have a ton of cases and deaths that probably aren't getting counted, just like you have with the flu. And flu numbers are usually around like 30 to 60,000 deaths a year. 30 to 60,000.
That's on a bad year.
That's on a bad year. We are already double that.
Over double.
We are over double that.
I believe there's 140,000.
Yes, 140,000 deaths. Okay? And just if you do, because what they're trying to do is they're trying to equate the death count to the entire U.S. population. That's essentially what they're trying to do. But that's not how math works. And then that's not how figures work. Because you only have 4 million people with the disease. Quote unquote.
Worldwide.
That's worldwide? I thought it was in America. We had almost 4 million. Are you sure?
No, now you got me confused.
Yeah, there's almost 4 million people in America.
Yeah, I believe you.
With the disease. That's what, because Pelosi was talking about this, and I'm pretty sure that I shared this on the Facebook page, which is facebook.com/TruthSeekerPodcast. You could go there while Facebook still allows it to be up until they censor it and take it down once Tucker Carlson says so. That's what my shirt, I'm trying to rip off Tucker real quick. So, so I was going with my liberal Tucker Carlson look. But Nancy Pelosi was talking about just the accelerated advancement of of this disease. within it. Like,
Yeah, I stopped paying attention to the numbers literally like 2 weeks ago. I had no idea. 16 million cases worldwide.
Oh,
So the
yeah.
United States is a fourth of the cases worldwide.
Worldwide.
Prestige worldwide.
And that's what, like, we went from 3 million to 4 million within like 12 days or 16 days.
Yeah.
Like, it's like within a 2-week period, just this
Following July 4th.
following July
You
4th,
dumb fucks.
we have gone up 1 million cases in 2 weeks. Like, the growth of this disease is starting to happen rapidly. Very, very rapidly.
4.3 million in the U.S., followed by Brazil with 2.4 million.
We have a crisis in America right now. And I applaud Cantrell because she keeps putting in restrictions. She keeps trying to do the right thing. I think it's not enough.
And y'all want to call her Latoya the Destroyer and all this stupid bullshit?
Yeah.
Yes, businesses are suffering horribly for
Everywhere.
what is happening around us.
Everywhere.
But guess what? The businesses, the small businesses not being bailed out is in no way, shape, or form
Not her
Latoya's fault.
That's
Just so
Trump.
y'all know.
He's the one that, and we're talking about, like, where are we going to find this money?
Yeah.
Where can we find all this money at?
I wonder where.
Well, seems like all we would really have to do is ask Trump. Because Trump says when he needs money, he will just print it. And you can hear me typing right now because that's how easy it is to know what I'm talking about. Just whenever you know something and you know what you're talking about.
It's called Google.
Yeah, it becomes a lot easier to not sound fucking stupid.
You can literally take any question in your mind and type it into this search engine called Google that came out like in the late 90s.
I would also try math.com, dictionary.com. Learn the words that you like to use.
But you can just use Google for all of that. It's easy. One-stop shop.
One-stop shop. I mean,
ask all of your stupid questions to Google before you open your mouth. If you're ever unsure, just Google it first. I do it for my job. I do it for my health. I do it in real life. The shit's out there. You could buy a house. You could find cars. You can learn about the government. Whatever you want to do.
And, this was published in 2018, but, I mean, there's even more...
Yeah, he said it like 40 times.
There's even more recent instances where he's gone and, said that with the pandemic, whenever he needs more money, he'll just print more. Because that's how it works. If he needs to pay for something, there's no need for a bill or
a budget
or raising taxes or anything like that. He just needs to print more money. And that's literally what he said. So, I mean, there's no real point in arguing this, especially, if you're a Trump supporter. Just go and Google it. Argue with the Google search. You could go and argue with Trump. You don't need to argue with me, okay?
While you're there, you should also Google the national debt that conservatives seem to be so, affixed, or I can't think of the right word, but they have a fixation with the fucking national debt. Or they did, I would say, when Obama was in office.
Yeah, but now it's skyrocketing.
Yeah.
It's fucking, the national debt has been blown out the fucking water.
I mean, they added $3 trillion to it last month when they gave away that much money to corporations. So,
and
just right there.
Billionaires' income has gone up almost $1 trillion. So a third of what Congress has put into the economy, just an economic stimulus within the last 3 months, a third of it has winded up into the hands of billionaires.
And how much did you get? Was it a $1,200 check?
Yeah. Unless you were on unemployment and then you were making an extra $600 a week.
Oh, you fucking fleecing of America cipher. $600?
And guess what? It basically made it to where I was making my fucking paycheck.
Do you know how many flak jackets I could buy with $600? A half of one.
Because you know why? Because that's how much fucking money I make. You fucking cocksuckers. You don't fucking judge people. You don't fucking judge people no matter what the fuck it is. Who gives a fuck how much money the fucking stimulus package is? That's how much money it is. Because you know why? Because for people who make $40,000 to $50,000 a year, raising your fucking hand right here, like the majority of fucking Americans who make about $40,000 to $50,000 a year, or the majority of Americans who think they're the middle class. That's how I should say it. I'm sorry.
That are actually on the verge of poverty.
That are actually on the verge of poverty. That $600 a week makes it to where like we didn't miss a fucking paycheck. And a good bit of us did not have a fucking job. Yours truly included. And it wasn't mainly because of my choice. I was forced out of my job because I had an employer that did not want to follow CDC guidelines.
Or state mandates. Because it is mandated that every business in the state of Louisiana and every public gathering place institute face coverings and social distancing. Because there's a fucking global pandemic. I don't know if you've noticed.
Exactly. And so since I had a business that refused to follow CDC guidelines, guess what that led me to do? I refused to go to work. You can't force me to go to work. It's not safe. I have a family. I have a wife. I have, extended family through both sides. It's just, I'm not going to expose the people I love for rich fucks to make more money. It's not going to happen.
You're basically being exploited until you die. It's like, we know how dangerous it is. We don't give a fuck. We want to keep making money, and you're a cog in that machine.
Yep.
So please report to work.
Yeah, I know that, you're in a business where you make millions and millions of dollars. Plexiglass is expensive. Paying people fucking a living wage is expensive.
Or how about paying like these grocery store workers and shit that have never gotten a break through any of this hazard pay? You think $600 a week is a lot of money? They deserve at least triple that for fucking being forced to work during a pandemic and cater to bringing your whole family to fucking Walmart because you got to get out of the house because you hate each other so much you have to go aggravate everybody in fucking Walmart with your... I'm sorry, I'm getting very upset, but you need to stay home. Yeah. Unless you have an abject need to be out in public. Like, I cut my fucking foot off and it's going to not be reattached if I don't go to the hospital. Or like, grandma's out of like her fucking diabetes medicine, so I need to go to the pharmacy or something to that effect.
Yeah, I understand you want to get out of the house.
You need to stay home.
I understand you want to go on a vacation because it's summertime. Like, you've waited all year for this. But guess what? There's a fucking global pandemic, you stupid fuck. You must not care about your family very much if you want to take them to a crowded fucking beach and expose them to the possibility of COVID-19. Trump's not taking his family to the beach.
And they're not targeting alcoholics and all this. I know all the bar owners are up in arms like, oh, Home Depot gets to be open, which I agree is kind of silly. But anyway, but
I believe there should be a shutdown.
And a lot of people are saying they're targeting certain businesses, but the fact of the matter is that the only thing you do in a bar is go sit there and drink and talk to other people and get close with other people. And
all it is a social gathering place. Like, that is literally what the fuck it is. They had a goddamn TV show made up to talk about this. It was called Cheers, where everybody knows your name.
We know you want to go where everyone knows your name. Because everybody at your house hates you. We know. You want to get away. But I
can't stop you from talking about Trump. And if you don't stop, I'm going to hit you in the fucking face with a sledgehammer.
Yeah, but back to my original point. They're not targeting your business because they don't like, that you're serving alcohol or anything like that. They're targeting your business because it's a breeding ground for this disease. And what they're gonna sadly and very unfortunately for many American families realize is that school environment is going to be much more close to a bar environment than anyone ever imagined, with the fact that you're not going to be able to keep these kids from socializing with each other. Think about how dumb two bitches can be when you give them each 2 glasses of wine in a bar, and they're hooting and hollering and laughing and giggling and touching each other and touching everybody and blah, blah, blah. Well, when you have the kids in class and they haven't seen each other in 6 months and they haven't been able to play with any of their friends, and you have one teacher trying to wrangle a pod of kids or whatever the fuck they're trying to do with them in these classrooms, like, it's going to be disastrous.
Oh, yeah. And
so not only are they going to be shutting down bars, but they're going to be shutting down schools. So y'all might want to start wrapping your minds around that and mentally preparing for spending a lot more time with your own crotch munchkins, or, you know, fuck trophies, or whatever you want to call them. Like, but they're your problem to deal with, honestly.
But, I mean, you know, and we're talking, I don't want to just seem like we're trying to beat up on Republicans here, because, I mean, they are a big problem that we're dealing with in this country right now, as far as, like, you know, just intelligence and, like, trying to solve problems. Republicans are a big fucking issue. But Democrats are just as bad. So, like, I don't want to seem like we're just beating up on these people, because, you know, the Democrats will grandstand for a lot of stupid bullshit, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Like, you know, when I'm not trying to minimize the death of George Floyd and the impact in, you know, the Black Lives Matter protests. I understand that shit is important. It needs to be talked about. It needs to be done. But what I am saying is that whenever this happened, you had an immediate politicizing of it from the Democrats of the House, the House of Representatives, where they immediately put on traditional African garb, which I don't believe that they really knew what the fuck it meant, and, you know, what the...
Yeah, it is in a way more disrespectful than just listening to the people and responding to their issues and trying to imitate them, or, you know, whatever you were trying to do in that show of... I'm not even going to call it respect, because it's just, you look stupid.
You could have did what you did dressed like this.
Yeah.
You didn't need to put on the fucking, you know, I don't know the name of it. See, that's what I'm saying. Like, I don't even know the name of what the fuck they were wearing. But I know that it was fucking stupid. There was no need for it. Okay? Like, they had all this other stupid shit where they've staged these sit-ins where they all sit on the floor of the House chamber and, like, filibuster and protest and shit like that.
For 9 minutes, because that's how long they kneeled on George Floyd's neck. Do 9 minutes of fucking work, because you're there and we're paying you tax dollars. Everybody's all worried about tax dollars being spent. Do work while you're there.
How about you guys do a fucking filibuster until the Republicans decide to hear about the you know, the plight of the American people during this COVID-19 crisis? How about until we have a stimulus package passed through the Senate that Senate Democrats refuse to leave the fucking chamber and stage a sit-in? How about you do that? How about you do something that actually benefits somebody other than yourself during a fucking election year? Because that's all I see. That's all I see is just pandering. Pandering.
And like you're saying, you know, not to downplay the George Floyd thing at all. And I fully support Black Lives Matter. Black Lives Matter, period.
Yeah.
But like, this shit has been going on for a decade. Obama was in office and black men were being gunned down by police. Sandra Bland was killed in jail. You know, the shit was happening on everybody's clock. Like, you know, you think Trump's going to do something about it when Obama didn't do something about it?
Nope. You had a black president and nothing changed. There was a black president when Tamir Rice was killed. There was a black president when Trayvon Martin was killed. Mike Brown.
Alton Sterling. Eric Gardner.
All these black men were shot and killed, and Obama did nothing. He literally did fucking nothing. And you still have Democrats that are going around pushing this blue no matter who.
Which is just a stupid saying to begin with.
Yeah, it's fucking dumb. If you vote for Joe Biden, guess what you're going to get? Donald Trump light. It's the same thing as 2016. It's no different if you vote for Hillary Clinton or Trump. You were going to get the same thing. You were just going to get Trump light if we would have got Hillary. So now we're trying to push forward Joe Biden, which is responsible for the minimum sentencing laws that were passed in the 90s. A person who, during segregation talks and shit like that, said that he doesn't want his kids to grow up in a racial jungle.
And meantime has come out and been like, oh, I was sorely mistaken and blah, 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 I was wrong. Oh, of course you're going to say that shit now, motherfucker. You're trying to become president.
Yeah, you could have said that shit fucking 4 years ago, 5 years ago, whenever you were fucking vice president for a black man. And you didn't.
You were hoping it would never come to light and no one would ever talk about it.
Like, I don't get how these politicians don't realize we live in a fucking society now where the internet, no matter what the fuck you said, even if it was in the 50s and the 60s, it's going to come to light now because we have the internet. That's why you have, they're attacking net neutrality laws and stuff like that. They don't want people doing what I'm doing right now. Because once you see what I'm doing and then realize how easy this is and how easy it is to break through the corporate stranglehold and then really, get messages out there through mainstream media such as YouTube, like it is. I mean, this is easy. I'm on my personal computer with a web camera and audio equipment. And I'm able to reach a vast audience across the world.
Drinking wine and feeling fine.
Yeah. Drinking my wine, doing my time, bitch. But it's that's why they want to make this shit illegal. Because if everybody realized how easy this shit is and how fast you can move information, it would be a whole hell of a lot harder to stop these protests that are going on right now.
Even sending in federal troops and unmarked vehicles to apprehend U.S. citizens on the street without reading their Miranda rights.
Which is literal fascism.
Yeah.
By definition, this is fascism. And this is happening in Trump's America.
So color me Antifa.
Yep. Antifa.
Because
I'm raising my hand right here.
All not for picking up citizens off the street in unmarked vehicles by police without badges and military fatigues and fucking little Nazi symbols and patches all over their made up bullshit uniforms.
Buy me an Antifa shirt. I'll fucking wear that shit in public gladly.
Now I've actually heard two different theories on these. When they were in Portland, I heard it was Border Patrol agents since they have
well, it's Department of Homeland Security is what they're kind of saying it's supposed to be.
But
right?
It's Blackwater contractors.
Which is
surprise.
Guess who fights your wars in Afghanistan?
Blackwater. And guess who profits from Blackwater? Isn't it like Donald Rumsfeld and shit? Doesn't he?
Possibly. I don't know, but I know that contractors make like almost like 2 to 3 times the amount that an American soldier makes. So while you have soldiers making like $32,000, maybe $40,000 a year, these independent contractors are getting paid 6 figures. And I mean, it's not just in the military combat aspect of it. I mean, you have civilians all throughout the military. They're doing all kinds of jobs. I have friends that are doing that shit. I don't really want to get into specifics, but like, they do every little bitty tiny aspect of life, whether it's like washing clothes, setting up internet connections, cooking food and shit like that. I mean, you have a lot of people who are on military bases who are civilians. And those people who are civilians and getting paid contracts and shit like that, they make a whole hell of a lot more money than soldiers.
Oh, my bad. The founder is Nancy Pelosi's brother. That's what it is.
Oh, Pelosi's brother.
Not a Pelosi. Fuck. I'm sorry. I'm so drunk.
Palin?
No. Devos. The
Betsy DeVos.
education bitch.
Ah.
Eric Prince.
Makes sense. But, you know, it's just... It's a total fucked up situation. And, you know, we've been kind of on this thread in this vein about, like, you know, just how we're going to come up with the money and who's going to pay for it and all this other shit and stuff like that. Well, we're talking about, like, how the doctors and the nurses, how they don't have PPE and stuff like that in the hospitals. It literally costs like $11 per doctor or nurse for PPE. Guess how much it costs to deck out a police officer in full military gear? A little under $800 a piece. And look at which one we don't have any problem supplying right now. There's no problem in supplying police officers with military gear right now.
To use against U.S. citizens.
To use against U.S. citizens.
That are literally exercising their right to protest.
To protest.
It was a literal line of old ladies with helmets on.
Locking
with
arms.
shirts that says, like, Moms United or some shit. And
they're the Wall of Moms. And their sole purpose out there was to protect Black Lives Matter.
Yeah.
Because of what's happening. Because they see it.
Like, they fucking broke... It looked like they broke this one lady's eye socket. Like, her whole side of her face was just, like, swollen and bruised.
The amount of citizens and journalists who have lost eyeballs just since these protests have started is astronomical.
Spraying them with tear gas, rubber bullets, non-lethal weapons.
But again, I want to get back to these numbers, okay? Because again, conservatives like to talk about numbers. So with the numbers, you know, we're looking at about like $800 for a police officer, about $11 for a doctor or a nurse, okay? And what's happening in Portland, where, you know, these aren't even police officers; these are federal agents.
Yep. So
this is extra money that the government is spending to put you know, these shits out there. And guess how these federal agents in Portland were thwarted with their tear gas.
How?
Dads with leaf blowers.
That's awesome.
$800 in tactical gear per officer, and you're thwarted by a $100 leaf blower.
They were also throwing frozen water bottles at him.
That's what, like, do you really need me to break this down to show you how big of a waste of money that is? $800 to abuse American people. And what the citizens did is they didn't get guns. They didn't fight back with guns.
Because these aren't the anti-tyranny people that are standing up fighting against these cops in the street.
Yeah, these aren't the boogie boys.
All the Second Amendment motherfuckers that need their arms to rise up against tyranny. They're at home crying in their basements.
Yeah.
These are fucking dads with leaf blowers.
Yeah.
Am I too close?
Well, you get too loud, so I keep turning you down until you get good volume.
These dads with leaf blowers.
But so, you know, it's just a gross waste of money. Like, how can you even sit here and begin to try to justify this shit? Like, watch. Let's just do some simple calculations here, okay? Let's go ahead and just pull this shit up real quick. Okay, we got the calculator up here. All right? Now, it's about $800. Oh, I'm sorry. It's about $800 for gear for a police officer, okay? Now let's just take a rough guess. How many federal agents do you think we have guarding this courthouse in Portland? How many do you think?
I mean, just one picture I saw, there was at least 100.
At least 100. Okay. So let's just do that. Times 100. $80,000. $80,000 in police military gear, and this is just an estimate, okay? Because we're just thinking about 100 agents, okay? $80,000. This is how math works. I know Republicans, y'all haven't seen this a lot. This is called the calculator, and this is how you actually see how numbers work. But okay, so we got about 80,000 right there, okay?
For one event.
For one event. Well, I mean, this is probably yearly because every year they're gonna have to get new gear because they wear it out, you know. But so we probably had in the video, I think I counted 5 dads. 5 dads with leaf blowers. So that's about $500. So 500 divided by 80,000 equals 0.00625 number, whatever, which is basically less than 1%. So for less than 1% of the money spent on military gear for these federal officers protecting a courthouse, they were counterintelligenced with leaf blowers. And the dads forced all the tear gas back onto the federal agents. It was rather hilarious. And then, I mean, and you know, this number's kind of fucked up because, you know, I'm also not accounting for all the girls that were dressed up in capes and had hockey sticks, because those people were taking the tear gas canisters and hitting them back at the police with the hockey sticks.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I think I saw one girl with a cape and a hockey stick, so that's like $20.
I would say 40.
Yeah. I mean, the point I'm trying to make is that this shit is fucking laughable. It's like the federal response is a joke. The Trump administration is a joke. Republicans are a joke. And anybody who's your friends and family who's going to continually try to promote this Trump administration and the maskless agenda and COVID-19 is a Democratic hoax and liberals are commies and all this other bullshit, they're a fucking joke. And you need to start standing up to your family and start realizing that the longer that you stay silent and the longer that you don't want to have a difficult conversation with your friends and family, the worse this problem's going to get. And I'm not going to put up with it. I'm not going to sit there, you know, just tolerate it and wait for all this shit to go down. It's not. I'm not going to do that. But again, I want to thank you guys for tuning into the podcast. Thanks. Thank you again. Thank you for listening. Thank you for coming in here and checking us out. You know, we got a bunch of YouTube videos. You could go back. We got some holiday songs because the holidays are going to be coming up soon. I would also, you know, prepare your kids that, you know, Santa killed himself. He got COVID-19. He died. Mrs. Claus, she got COVID-19. A couple of reindeers. You're probably going to be spending the holidays by yourself with your families because y'all don't know how to stay at home and self-quarantine and isolate and social distance and wear masks.
But the virus is going to disappear according to their fearless leader. I mean, I know he said it back in like April or something, so just keep waiting.
Just wait. Keep waiting. Hopefully you die. But, you know, it just... I hate to be like that, but it honestly seems like that's going to be the only way moving forward where we could actually progress as a species. is where these people just go out and fucking kill themselves because it's happening even at a record fucking pace. Like, the social media can't keep up with all these people who say that they don't need to wear masks because they fuck strippers raw, and then like 2 weeks later they're dead of COVID-19.
Which is a shame that the doctors have to waste their PPE on people who think that COVID-19 is a joke.
Yeah.
But sadly, that's what happens.
Yeah, I mean,
anytime anyone gets sick, they're going to go seek medical treatment, whether they think it's from a hoax virus or not.
I mean, if we're really having the government follow us and doing all this shit and the first thing that should be done is that everybody who says that COVID-19 is a hoax, well, you've just waived your right to medical treatment. You don't need it.
Especially since the government's paying for all the COVID treatment right now. Hello, single payer.
It's the flu. Yeah.
I've never seen the government give away health care for the flu.
Yeah.
Explain that one to me, someone.
Yeah. And that's what I'm saying. It's every single myth that Republicans have perpetrated about single-payer health care, about socialism and paying people living wages and shit, has all been proven untrue with this pandemic. People are waiting in bread lines, not under socialism. This is capitalism, folks.
Yep.
You have capitalism right now.
This isn't what's going to happen when Joe Biden becomes president, because guess what? This is what's happening while Trump is president.
Trump
dipshits.
is president. This isn't a wait and see what Joe Biden's going to fucking do. This is what is happening with your party in control.
Yep.
And if you think you could send me 6-paragraph essays about a black person that likes Trump and why he's not racist and all this other bullshit, and I'm gonna keep playing nice, it's no longer the issue anymore. I'm Jesus flipping over tables and cracking motherfuckers with whips now. That's the guy you got. So enjoy it. Hopefully you can take care of your family and your friends during this pandemic. Stay inside. Just don't go out unless you absolutely have to. Take advantage of grocery delivery services. I recommend Whole Foods, even though the Jeff Bezos bullshit. I mean, if you got Amazon Prime, you get your groceries delivered to you. You don't even have to go to the store. There's tons of options out there to social distance. Keep yourself out of the stores. Keep your family safe. I suggest you do those things. If you do all kinds of shit like that, you'll be able to make them hate you like Jesus.